talking about text and the style of text that they were writing, before going over the Ibadi textual tradition that grew out of the Arabian Peninsula, first I'd like to ask a few questions concerning the composition of these early Ibadi texts being produced from their first community in Basra. Would that be the Siyar? I noticed that's what you had mentioned
Correct.
heavily throughout the article. I
Right.
wonder, was there any composition or style of writing that predated the CR?
Not that we are aware of, no. In the, excuse me, in most of Islamic tradition, the word sira is restricted to the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, right? So, but in the Omani tradition, the word sira just simply means a letter or an epistle. And so the earliest texts, I mean, it makes perfect sense that you have a group that meets together and then they send out their missionaries that establish communities in far-flung areas, and those communities start needing guidance. And so they request something in writing, and those writings are written in the form of a letter. So the singular is sira, S-I-R-A, and the plural is siyar, S-I-Y-A-R. And so it makes perfect sense that that would be the earliest type of text that we have. After all, people weren't thinking in terms of publishing, or disseminating to everybody necessarily, but they were articulating, um, uh, they were writing these texts in response to requests and questions or things that they heard were happening in other places that they didn't like. So, yeah.
And doing a bit of research for this interview, I came across a bit of information that said Sira or CR were used in other Muslim communities at an early period, but then it eventually just became identified with the biography of the Prophet, as you mentioned. And that's what I tend to, or that's what I thought about when I first came across Ibadi CR. I think it might have been Abu Katan. Khalid Ibn Katan. I can't, and I was thinking, like, why would I want
Mhm.
to read the biography of this guy? But
Um,
then for this interview, the way that you elaborated on what the CR were, I went back and I read some information about the CR of Abu Katan,
right.
and it was actually about an incident that we will talk about later on in the interview. So it's not actually about biography, but it is like you mentioned, giving guidance, answering
Mhm.
questions, and instruction and
Right.
whatnot.
Of course, the word sira in its origin sort of means the way to conduct oneself, what one's conduct is. And so, and in the among the Ibadis of North Africa, when they talk about siyar, they mean biographies. Ibadi literature in North Africa is very much centered on biographies. So it is, so even among Ibadis, you can find this word used in different ways.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm aware that